You are looking for a Guardian build that you can play in all game modes, that is actually really good in all of them, world versus world zerging, in PvP, in PvE, everywhere, it's good. This Firebrand build does just this. It's amazing, it's a quickness healer for every single piece of content in Guild Wars 2's PvE, so open world, instance content, and even in PvP and world versus world it's perfectly playable. So you don't have to switch your gear around, you can play the single build in all game modes. If you're intrigued by this, be sure to watch the whole video to not miss out a thing about this amazing build. As always, special shout out to all my supporters on YouTube, Twitch and Patreon that help me keep the lights on, and now without much further ado, let's jump straight in. And let's start with the disclaimer. This is a build that is very much playable and very good in all game modes, don't get me wrong here, but if you want to get the most out of it, you would switch a single piece of equipment, maybe something for all the game modes. So just adjusting it slightly to make it even better in those game modes. But it's already really, really strong. So if you are just a new player or someone that wants to master a single build, this is for you. So with that much said, let's start with the equipment. Like I said, you can use the equipment in PvE and world versus world. That's the whole purpose of this video. So for gear, you want to go for full minstrel armor, full minstrel weapons, and full minstrel trinkets. Very easy. If you can afford infusions, you would go with healing infusions, but of course it's not necessary. For your rune, you want to go with Superior Rune of the Water, just for more healing power and boon duration. For your weapon choices, you would go with Staff, Mace and Shield. In PvE, you would say, okay, I can drop the Mace and could go for X if you wanted, because then you actually get 100% Fury uptime, otherwise you might rely on your support, on your offensive support as well. But the Mace is the setup that is working very well in competitive modes. So keep that in mind. If you want to be PvE, then I would go for an X instead of the Mace. For your sigils, I would go with Superior Sigil of Energy and Transference. And on the shield, I would go instead of Transference for Concentration, but you can go for Transference and Energy on both. Or if you play only PvE, you can also drop the Energy Sigil and go for Transference and Concentration. This is just a setup that works perfectly well in all game modes. If you want to see the exotic version or just the Ascended version in written, be sure to check out the link in the description below. For the Relic, you would go with Relic of the Flock. It's just such a good healing output for your healing skill, it's amazing. Definitely the best option there. For your consumables, you would go with bowls of fruit salad with mint garnish. It's just really, really strong. Outgoing healing increase, healing power and concentration. You're after all healer, very tanky healer, but still really good. If you can't get the Ascended food, you would go with delicious rice balls. You still get the healing, but lose the concentration. And for utility consumables, the best option by far is the Bountiful Mindlance Oils. It's really amazing, really, really strong. This is what you would use in PvE and world versus world. It's exactly the same. Of course, in PvP, you can't use any. Before I talk about the traits, I want to mention, if you like this video, be sure to leave a like. And if you want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe. But now, let's talk about the traits. So let's talk about the PvE traits. Because in competitive modes, you have to make small adjustments to make the traits a little bit more suited towards the playing against real players. So you would take in PvE, Honor, Virtues, and Firebrand. In Honor, you get a lot of nice healing effects, so Vigor at the end of a dodge roll. For yourself, at the end of your dodge roll, it heals you and your allies. That's really potent, so that's why Energy Sigil is so good in all game modes, but also, of course, for the evade, because your dodging actually heals. So keep in mind, always dodge if you are pressured, because it will also heal you and evade. It's really, really strong. And then your Virtue skills too. Passive, also regenerate endurance. That's only for you, but it's really strong because we will get to that later. 15% more dodge uptime, it's really nice. Then, when you use your healing skill, you create a protective symbol on the ground, and with this trait, it also heals and lasts longer, and the radius is bigger, so it's actually really, really potent to use your healing skill, keep that in mind. And then Aegis heals when it blocks an attack. It's really, really strong. Your healing skill obviously gives Aegis, and you have other sources of Aegis as well, so it's really, really strong how much healing you do, and this also applies to your allies. So when it blocks an attack and your allies actually blocked it with your Aegis, they heal. Really, really strong. Then you have Virtues. Virtues is your boons trait line. You get boons and give it to allies as well, so Might, Regen, Protection, depending on the tome that you use. And your Virtues gain reduced recharge. That's the important part here. The other two parts of this is not important. Then you take Master of Concentration for your concentration lasts longer. That's good, 2 seconds longer. Then you take Absolute Resolve for some passive effect that is stronger. Your healing of your F2 is stronger. And if you go into the tome, you will remove 3 conditions from you and your allies. If you go in the tome, it will remove it, and if you go out, you see it's now red. That means it's on cooldown. So if you have that up back on cooldown, then you will get the Condi Cleanse again. So not all the time, so you can't spam it all the time. And then you take Battle Princess, because that's now making this like really, really strong. Nearby allies gain a passive effect of Virtue Skill 2. So that means that your Virtue Skill 2 will now heal them and grant them endurance in a 600 radius, so that's really, really strong. And then you take, of course, Firebrand, you get access to your tomes. The tomes are really, really potent because the F1 is, so to say, the damaging tool, but also has some nice CC in there. Then the F2 is the healing tome, and the F3 is the just steadfast, tanky tome. We will get to the skills in a second. I just cover the traits first. So you get quickness when you go into a tome, and every third tome skill grants you pages. This is really important to understand that you have to use 3 tome skills of the same tome to get 1 page back. The pages are your, so to say, initiative for this. It's really, really important that you, if you want to get a lot of healing out, for example, use 3 of the healing tomes pages and you get 1 back. That's really nice page generation. Then another page generation is here weighty terms. So whenever you use the final charge of your mantra, you will slow nearby foes, which is a soft CC, so can break the defiance bar, and it gives you 2 pages back. So that's really, really important. That is typically used on your Mantra of Potence, because this is the one that you use all the time for quickness upkeep in PvE. And keep in mind, in PvE, your mantras, when they are off cooldown, so you use it 3 times, and they come off cooldown after 20 seconds here, they will instantly be charged. In competitive modes, you have to charge them first, so keep that in mind. It's really, really strong. That's why you would spam that to get pages back. Then you use Liberator's Vow, which means grant allies quickness when you use your heal skill. That has a 7-second ICD, but whenever you have 3 of your healing ammunition up, you can use it, and you get the quickness proc. Keep that in mind, that's how it works. You can, of course, if you're really pressured, use it the second time, but I would say better keep it to get the quickness all the time. Then, gain increased attributes while affected by quickness. It's really strong because you should be always affected by quickness. That means you have more vitality, more healing power, and more condition damage. Really, really good. And then lastly, you take Loremaster. That means that you retain your Resolve's passive. So F2 passive is permanent, even while it's on cooldown. And that means that you can get the healing output and the endurance regeneration all the time. It's really, really strong. 600 radius all the time for your allies. And you then generate pages more quickly. Really, really potent. That is the version that I would run in, like, all the time in PvE. There are some adjustments that you can do. If you want to see a full guide about Heal Firebrand, be sure to check out this video, where I talk about every single adjustment and how to play Firebrand as a healer in PvE, very detailed. This is just a build that I want to share here in terms of like playing it on all game modes. Let's now talk about the skills. So for the skills, you use Staff, of course. Staff, the auto attack is not that strong, but the 2 skill is a nice healing and a blast. The 3 skill is a swiftness symbol and heals, of course, because it's a symbol. The 4 skill is some nice healing and provides might, so use that off cooldown. And then you have the line of warding for some CC. Then you have on Mace, healing auto attack, quite nice. You have a very potent heal on your 2 skill. It's also a symbol again, stays very long. Can permanently upkeep it if you have Alacrity. Then you have Protector Strike. If you block an attack with that, it's actually providing nice boons. Then you have here another source of nice boons for your allies. And then you have here some CC, and if you double tap it, it also has some healing. If you only use it once, it has a projectile negation. So really, really strong as well. Then quickly cover the tomes. The important tome things are here: the 3 for CC, the 4 pull, the 2 for blast finisher, the 4 for fire field, and the 5 for some might that you use, and for some nice burning application. Then the auto attack here heals in the F2 skill. This one is a nice Condi cleanse, and if it removes condition, it heals quite potently. The 3 skill is really strong because it applies vigor, regen, and swiftness, so you can permanently upkeep it with using this, and heals. The 4 skill is a water field. If you use the 4 skill and then go into the F1 tome and use the F2 skill, you get a water blast finisher. And the 5 skill is really, really strong if you need a lot of healing. Costs 2 pages, but it gives you a buff to our allies as well that gives 33% more healing effectiveness. So if you use that and then your other healing skills, you heal way more. And then conditions converted to boons, 5. That's amazing. So if there are 5 conditions on your allies and you use it, you actually get 5 boons instead. It's really, really strong. That's why it costs 2 pages. And the F3, the 1 skill just gives you swiftness and protection a bit. The 2 skill is a nice CC again. The 3 skill is a nice missile reflect. It's a nice bubble. It's just standing in it, and it protects you from missiles that are unblockable. And then you use Stalwart Stand. That's a nice stun break and grants resistance pulses that can be quite useful in some situations. And then you have Unbroken Lines, which provides stability and protection and gives your allies 300 toughness for 5 seconds. So it's really, really important. Costs again 2 pages. For your healing skill, you always want to use Mantra of Solace to get the H's and also therefore provide nice boons and also heal your allies, especially when it blocks. Then you use Stand Your Ground for stability uptime and also some resolution. It's really, really important. Then you use for CC Sanctuary. If you drop it down, it is a pulsing CC, so it will actually CC a lot in PvE. If you don't need CC at all, you can swap that, for example, to Mantra of Lore to get some condition cleanses for your allies and also some more region uptime. But there are many ways that you can swap. For example, Merciful Intervention can be a way to do it. If you need more stability, Hallowed Ground can be good. If you need more Condi cleanses, and you could also go for Purging Flames or Wall of Reflection for reflects. You could go for Advance for some H's. There are so many ways to actually get that. Even the shield can be worthwhile. So many ways to actually change your utility skills, so just adjust it what you need. But you should always have Mantra of Potence for this quickness. Keep in mind, the quickness here is always in the cone in front of you, so you have to position behind the allies to actually hit this. And then you can spam it, because the last hit, let's show it, the last hit of it, if you use it, gives you 2 pages back. Yeah, you saw? And that's really good. That is typically your page generation if you really are in dire need of pages. And then you use Mantra of Liberation, because it's an AoE stability provider, but it also is a stun break for its allies. So it's really strong. So you can use that to actually stun break someone if they're actually stunned. But you could easily swap to Feel My Wrath for more quickness and some super speed, or you could even go for the Renewed Focus if you wanted to get some invulnerability out. For the rotation, you start on Staff and use your symbol of Swiftness to get some swiftness up. And while casting it, you use your Restoring Reprieve and 1 potent haste charge. Then you swap your weapon, and if you have your X, you would use the symbol of Vengeance into another potent haste charge. Swap into your Tome of Resolve and use your Chapter 3 Azure Sun. Then you swap into your Tome of Justice and use the 5 skill, so the Epilogue Ashes of the Just, and use the last charge of your quickness mantra. After that, you always cast your Azure Sun off cooldown. Always position in a way that you get the quickness and the might to all your allies. And after that, you typically just use always your healing skill if you have 3 charges up, and use all your Mantra of Potence stacks, so the quickness mantra stacks, whenever it comes off cooldown. So you spam all 3. Of course, position yourself before that correctly. And whenever you use a symbol of Vengeance, when it comes off, you also can swap into your Tome of Resolve to use the Azure Sun skill, which is the 3 skill. So they always come off cooldown together. Other than that, you just stick to your X and Shield if you want to. You can also go to the Staff for some swiftness. But then be aware that you don't have a very easy way of telling when to use the Azure Sun again. And of course, use your utility skills whenever necessary. But this is the key concept of how you actually apply boons on Firebrand. Let's now talk about the changes that I would do to the World vs. World variant. So, in World vs. World, you run the same gear, exactly the same. That's how I made this video, to make every single gear piece exactly the same, so no changes there. But the traits I would adjust a little bit. So you would go Virtuous, Honor, and Firebrand still. It's exactly the same. In Firebrand, you would now take Archivist of Whispers, so that you get 3 more pages. Then you take Stalwart Speed, so that whenever you grant H's a stability, grant quickness on a 7-second ICD. That's quite nice in World vs. World, some quickness application. And you take Still Lawmaster, so it stays similar. Then in Honor, you take Invigorate and Bulwark, so whenever you block, you get a healing effectiveness increase, and your duration of your mace skills, the recharge, is decreased. And the boons get increased duration, so you can upkeep them way longer. It's really crazy. You still take Pure of Heart, but now you take Force of Will. Force of Will is really strong because it increases your vitality, and the healing is increased that you put out depending on how much vitality you have. And you have a lot of vitality, so you get actually quite a lot of outgoing healing effectiveness. Really strong. This is what you would do. So you would change this trait and this trait. You still take Pure of Heart, of course, because it's really strong. And then in Virtues, you now take still Master of Concentrations, you take Absolute Resolve, but now you take Indomitable Courage. Indomitable Courage is really strong because that makes your F3. It's an instant cast, you can go in, and it will provide stability, but it will also be a stun break. And that's really strong, because having more stability uptime in World vs. World is insane. You have so many skills on this build, in particular, that you can use to provide stability. So like I said, the weapon skills are exactly the same for the tome skills. Now you still get stability when you go in here. You can see stability, crazy. And you now take, instead of your utility skills, you still take Stand Your Ground, but you take Hallowed Ground on top of that, so you have more stability. That means 2 + 1 means 3 stability already, and you have your Mantra of Liberation, means 4 stability skills. It's really strong how much stability you can provide. Hallowed Ground is a concentration and it stays on the ground, but it's a really large radius, and if you are in there, you get pulsing stability as long as it is, so to say, up. Really strong. And then you use typically Mantra of Lore for some Condi cleanse, but you could swap that if you don't need that, for example, 2 more Reflect, or you could swap it if you wanted to some repositioning toll with Merciful Intervention, even for Signet of Mercy if you want to revive someone, or if you want to go really aggressive, you can still go for the Mantra of Potence for some quickness. But this is what you would play in World vs. World. Typically Mantra of Law is the way to go. And then you have a really, really high utility and healing output as well. It's really, really strong build. And in my opinion, really fun as well. Let's now talk about the PvP version. For PvP in the equipment, you would of course use different ones because in PvP everyone is equalized in terms of equipment. So you can run either Sage Amulet or Avatar Amulet. It doesn't make too much of a difference because they give exactly the same healing power and vitality, and that's the thing that actually matters. Avatar is the more power-oriented version, where Sage is the conduit damage version. I like to run sometimes Sage. It doesn't really matter too much, but you can run it. And then you use, of course, Relic of the Flock. It's amazing, really, really strong. Just healing output again. You use Rune of Dolyak here to get some more toughness and vitality. And again, you use Staff, Mace, Shield. However, in PvP, I would drop the Mace if you want to really go try hard in Conquest. You would go with a sword to actually get more mobility. If you are playing in Push or in any other like scenario where you don't want to rotate that much or you want to stick to the same weapons, you would go still with Mace. For your Sigils, I would go with Sigil of Transference and Energy on both of them. It's just the best option by far. For your traits, you would go with Honor, Virtues, and Firebrand. You take the same traits as in competitive World vs. World. For Honor, exactly the same. For Virtues, you take the same traits with the exception of Battle Presence. You can still take Indomitable Courage if you want to get the stability uptime, but I think a lot of times the Battle Presence is actually more helpful because it will be shared to your allies and you get some really nice passive healing and endurance regeneration. That's really, really strong, especially in combination with Lawmaster so that it's permanently up. So just by being alive next to your allies, you actually provide them with healing and endurance all the time. And then you take Archivist of Whispers again, but in PvP I would take Legendary Lore, so you get some might and protection and region. But you can go for all three of those depending on what kind of like playstyle you want. So this is the trait setup for PvP, a little bit adjusted but not too much. For the skills again, you take of course Mantra of Solace, you take Mantra of Law for Condi cleanses, and you take Mantra of Liberation for stability and stun breaks. For the other two utility skills, it's a little bit more flexible. I like to run Merciful Intervention, so you get some mobility and some small healing and revive power. It's really good. And I like to take, especially if you run the Sage one, I like to run Purging Flames for some Condi cleanse and a nice damage application as well. But you could easily swap that, for example, to Stand Your Ground if you need more stability. You can go even for more mobility with Shutz's Intervention. This time you port to an enemy instead of an ally here. So this would be my choices, but sometimes it's even worth running Sanctuary because it can be really annoying for the enemy to actually get in there and deny your cap, for example. But this is my setup that I like to run. You can easily go for Stand Your Ground instead of the Merciful Intervention as well, but keep in mind you are quite slow if you have no teleports and stuff. You are a little bit of a snail, which is not a big problem in Push, but in Conquest it can be a problem, so keep that in mind. And you can see here in the background, this is an amazing build, really, really strong, has crazy healing, crazy cleanses, just crazy boon output as well. And it's really good in all game modes, you know, it's crazy how good you can carry on this build, especially if you want to master it, because the skill ceiling is quite high. And if you actually reach it or are close to it, you're actually amazing how crazy you can carry your groups. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks again to all my supporters, and I hope to see you all in the next video.